Bad dreams, huh?
It seems so real.
Well, it is real. Sort of. You see, part of being a Grey Warden is being able to hear the Darkspawn. That's what your dream was, hearing them. The Archdemon, it talks to the Horde, and we feel it just as they do. That's why we know this is really a blight.
The Archdemon, is that the dragon?
I don't know if it's really a dragon, but it sure looks like one. But yes, that's the Archdemon. It takes a bit, but eventually you can block the dreams out. Some of the older Grey Wardens say they can understand the Archdemon a bit, but I sure can't. Anyhow, when I heard you thrashing around, I thought I should tell you. It was scary at first for me too.
Any other surprises I should know about?
Other than dying young and the whole defeat the Blight alone thing, no. I'm all tapped out for surprises. Anyhow, you're up now, right? Let's pull up camp and get a move on.
Welcome back to Dragon Age Origins. We are at camp. This is the hub where we will spend our time in between all the missions. And where we get to talk to our companions and catch up. There's two other interesting things. So, first of all, here's our camp with most of our companions and Dog over there. And then Morrigan is by herself in the back there. Bodahn and his son Sandal have come to join us. And Levi here is quest giver for the DLC quest, or one of the DLC quests at least. He's a little bit infamous because for a lot of people in their games, especially on console I believe, he would show up in their camp after an update and offer the quest to you, and when you then wanted to accept the quest, it would then give you a pop-up with, hey, you should buy the DLC right now, spend money. So that's kind of immersion breaking. Let's talk to Bodahn.
Ah, it's good to see you, my timely rescuer. Bodahn at your service once again. I saw your camp and thought to myself, what safer place to rest for the evening than in the camp of a Grey Warden? I'm perfectly willing to offer you a fine discount for the inconvenience of our presence. How does that sound? Good? Yes?
You're free to stay, just mind yourselves.
Wonderful. Thank the gentleman, won't you, boy?
Thank you, sir.
We won't be a bother to you and your companions, I assure you. If you should need enchantments, simply talk to my boy. Otherwise, come speak with me.
Well, let's talk to Sandal about enchantments.
Hello.
The boy's a bit simple, but he's rather good with enchantments. One of those tranquil fellas actually called him a... what was it now? A savant. I had no idea such a thing existed.
Well, what enchantments does he do?
He can fold lyrium into almost any weapon or piece of armor, though naturally some of the more extravagant materials will take more lyrium than others. It's a process that some of the master smiths back in Orzammar will perform, but my boy here is just as adept at it. Isn't that right, boy?
Enchantment!
And there you have it.
I'd like some enchanting done.
Enchantment!
And then you can see the screen, different weapons that we have that have slots for enchantments. Like the Maul that Sten has, Oathkeeper that no one has equipped yet, but I will give it to Alistair in a moment. We could put lightning web damage on it. And a slow and a flame rune. And there we go, that frees up some inventory space and improves their weapons. Let's talk a little bit to Sten.
Why are we stopping?
Oh, he has this creepy glow, which I believe is from... well, probably from the fire, actually. We're working together. I think I should get to know you.
There are darkspawn to be fought. Is this delay needful?
Are you alright? You were in that cage for weeks.
You are concerned. No need. I am fit enough to fight.
You said you were in the army.
I am.
Why would the Qunari send soldiers here?
The Antam are the eyes, hands, and mouth of the Qunari. We are how my people know the world.
Doesn't that make your view of things a little skewed?
Compared to what?
Oh, good question.
What does anyone truly know of the world? The world changes. We change. The Antam observe what we can, just as you do. There is no point to this. We are keeping the Darkspawn waiting.
Why did you offer to help me?
For the moment, you are the enemy of my enemy.
The Darkspawn are your enemy?
They have no more allies than a hurricane or an earthquake. They are enemies to all.
I've never seen a Kunai before. Can you tell me about your people?
No.
No? Why not?
People are not simple. They cannot be summarized for easy reference in the manner of, the elves are a lithe, pointy-eared people who excel at poverty.
Never mind, let's keep moving.
As you wish.
So we get a little approval with him with that, but I have
Yes.
more. I have a question.
I am hardly surprised.
Why did you come to Ferelden?
To answer a question.
What was the question?
The Arishok asked what is the Blight. By his curiosity, I am now here.
What's an Arishok?
The one who commands the Antam, the body of the Kunari.
Why does he care about the Blight?
Why do you?
I'm a Grey Warden, it's my job.
Exactly. You don't ask, nor do I. The Arishok sends me and I go.
So don't you have to report back then?
Yes.
When are you going to do that?
Never. I cannot go home.
You cannot go home? Well, you can stay with us.
Thank you. Can we move on? We keep the Darkspawn waiting.
What were you doing in that cage?
Does it matter? Very well. I caged myself. A weak mind is a deadly foe, as you are no doubt aware.
What do you mean by a weak mind?
That is complicated. I told you before that I was sent here. I was not sent alone. I came to your lands with 7 of the Beresad, my brothers, to seek answers about the Blight. We made our way across the Ferelden countryside without incident, seeing nothing of the threat we were sent to observe. Until the night we camped by Lake Calenhad. They came from everywhere. The earth beneath our feet, the air above us. Our own shadows harbored the Darkspawn. I saw the last of the creatures cut down, too late. I fell.
It sounds like what happened to me at Ostagar.
I heard the stories of Ostagar. Your kith stood their ground when others fled. No one can do more than that. I don't know how long I lay on the battlefield among the dead, nor do I know how the farmers found me. I only know that when I woke I was no longer among my brothers, and my sword was gone from my hand.
You probably dropped it on the battlefield.
Perhaps. I searched for it, and when that failed I asked my rescuers what had become of it.
And then?
I killed them. With my bare hands. I did. I knew they didn't have the blade. They had no reason to lie to me. I panicked. Unthinking, I struck them down.
It's only an object, Sten. You could get another sword.
Do your people have no souls as we know them? Convenient for you. That sword was made for my hand alone. I have carried it from the day I was set into the Beresad. I was to die wielding it for my people. Even if I could cross Ferelden and Tevinter unarmed and alone to bring my report to the Arishok, I would be slain on sight by the Antam. They would know me as soulless, a deserter. No soldier would cast aside his blade while he drew breath.
And that's why their swords are so important to them. They're very much, well, spiritually, I'd say, tied to it. Couldn't you search for it?
If I knew where to look, it would be in my hand now.
Well, where did you fight the Darkspawn?
Near Lake Calenhad.
Don't worry, Sten. We'll find it.
Perhaps those words are empty, but thank you all the same.
Boom, and that's 35 approval. Additionally, just from talking to him. And now we also have a quest to go find his missing sword. And I think we can trigger another conversation, because he likes us better.
You are not quite as callow as I thought. That is unexpected.
Callow? You thought I was callow?
You sound surprised. You must have heard this before. You'll get over it. Eventually.
Why did I let you out of that cage again?
I have wondered that myself. It is one of the many things I find puzzling about your behavior.
Well, I find plenty of things puzzling about you too.
What is there to be puzzled by? I'm a simple creature. I like swords, I follow orders. There's nothing else to know about me.
I don't think you're that simple.
As I said, you're not as callow as I thought. In any case, we should go now.
Let's go.
As you wish.
And suddenly I think he likes me more than anyone else in the group. Let's chat with Alistair.
What do you need?
Do you want to talk about Duncan?
You don't have to do that. I know you didn't know him as long as I did.
Talking about the human, not the dog. He was like a father to you, I understand.
I should have handled it better. Duncan warned me right from the beginning that this could happen. Any of us could die in battle. I shouldn't have lost it, not when so much is riding on us, not with the blight and everything. I'm sorry.
There's no need to apologize.
I'd like to have a proper funeral for him. Maybe once this is all done, if we're still alive. I don't think he had any family to speak of.
He had you.
I suppose he did. It probably sounds stupid, but part of me wishes I was with him, in the battle. I feel like I abandoned him.
No, I understand completely.
Of course. I'd be dead then, wouldn't I? It's not like that would make him happier. I think he came from High Ever, or so he said. Maybe I'll go up there sometime. See about putting up something in his honor. I don't know. Have you had someone close to you die? Not that I mean to pry, I'm just...
Not since I went to the tower.
That must have felt a lot like when I got sent to the Chantry. You mages don't even get a say in the matter after all. Thank you. Really, I mean it. It was good to talk about it, at least a little.
Maybe I'll go to High Ever with you when you go.
I'd like that. So would he, I think.
Let's talk to Leliana next.
Yes?
I'd like to talk.
Well, here I am.
This vision of yours...
I knew this would come up sooner or later. I don't know how to explain, but I had a dream. In it, there was an impenetrable darkness. It was so dense, so real. And there was a noise, a terrible, ungodly noise. I stood on a peak and watched as the darkness consumed everything. And when the storm swallowed the last of the sun's light, I fell, and the darkness drew me in.
You dreamed of the Blight?
I suppose I did. That was what the darkness was, no? When I woke, I went to the Chantry's gardens, as I always do. But that day, the rose bush in the corner had flowered. Everyone knew that bush was dead. It was grey and twisted and gnarled, the ugliest thing you ever saw. But there it was, a single beautiful rose. It was as though the Maker stretched out his hand to say, even in the midst of this darkness, there is hope and beauty. Have faith.
I don't need your Maker interfering in my life.
It's not your life but mine that he guides. There are so many good things in the Maker's world. How can I sit by while the Blight devours everything?
The Chantry says the Maker has left us.
He's still here. I hear him in the wind and the waves. I feel him in the sunlight that warms my skin. I know what the Chantry says about the Maker, and what should I believe? What I feel in my heart, or what others tell me?
Believe what feels right to you, Leliana.
Thank you. It's nice to find someone who agrees. I know what I know, and no one will ever make that untrue.
What was life like in the Chantry cloister?
Quiet. It was a life suited for contemplation. In the cloister, away from the fuss and the flurry of the cities, I found peace. And in that stillness, I could hear the Maker. But it was not perfect. Some of my Chantry fellows were condescending. That is the nature of religious folk, I suppose.
That's why I'm not particularly fond of them.
When I talked about my beliefs, that the Maker reveals himself in the beauty of his world. They treated me with disdain. They want to believe that he's gone, so that when he turns his gaze on them, it means they are special, chosen. He cannot possibly have love for all, the sick and the weary, the beggars and the fools.
I prefer your ideas to the ideas of the Chantry.
Thank you. Maybe I am wrong. But it is the Maker's place to decide if I am worthy, not men, not the Chantry. But there is work to be done, and I have talked enough for now.
And then let's talk to Morrigan.
I await your command.
I'd like to ask you something.
So, full of questions, are you?
How did you become a shape changer?
I was not born such. 'Tis a skill of Flemeth's, taught over many years in the wilds. The chastened have tales of we witches, saying that we assume the forms of creatures to watch them from hiding. When a child is alone and separate from his tribe, that is when we strike, dragging the young boy kicking and screaming to our lair to be devoured. A most amusing legend.
That does sound like something you would do.
Oh? I truly doubt that children would be worth the effort. They are filthy, smelly things full of tears and snot and trouble. That said, I cannot speak for the tastes of my mother. She has, after all, lived a very lengthy time in the wilds and done many things I know nothing of. Why do you ask? Is there something specific you wish to know?
Can anyone become a shape changer?
Anyone with sufficient will. But the act of transformation is a magical one. 'Tis a spell and thus requires a mage's talents. Indeed, you could learn the spells required if I cared to teach you.
I've never heard of magic like that before.
No? 'Tis not unheard of in the remote corners of the world. There are traditions of magic outside of the circle of magi, despite what those mages would have you believe. Some of these traditions are old, indeed, passed down as carefully guarded lore from one generation to the next. The zealots of the Chantry would uproot all such practitioners if they could. But as luck have it, some still exist. My mother is such a one.
That's good. Such traditions need to be preserved.
I'm shocked that you think so. Being a mage of the circle as you were. But perhaps you felt a little like a caged bird as well, caught within that dark tower.
Yes, very much so.
I thought so.
Do you spend a lot of time as an animal?
There were nights when the wilds called to me, 'tis true. You look upon the world around you and you think you know it well. I have smelled it as a wolf, listened as a cat, prowled shadows that you never dreamed existed. But my life is as a human. I am under no illusions to the contrary.
And what do other animals think of you when you're changed?
They do not shy away from me. To their senses, I believe I seem like any other of their species. As to what they think, I truly cannot say. Just as I am still human, no matter my form, they are still animals. Thus they cannot speak, even were I to ask.
Can you change into other human forms as well?
The form of an animal is different from my own. One may study the creature, learn to move as it does, think as it does. In time, this allows one to become as it is. I gain nothing by studying another human. I already am the same as they are. I learn nothing. So the answer is no, my human form is the only one I possess.
That's all I wanted to ask.
Indeed. Have you an opinion on my abilities, then? Am I an unnatural abomination to be put to the torch?
Maybe tied to a flagpole and tickled.
What a bizarre thing to say. But enough of such talk. Let us proceed, lest the dust gather on us.
So life in the wilds must have been very lonely.
At times, perhaps. A world full of people and buildings and things was all very foreign to me. If I wished companionship, I ran with the wolves and flew with the birds. If I spoke, 'twas to the trees.
That sounds wonderful.
For a time. But one can only remain a child for so long. I recall the first time I crept beyond the edge of the wilds. I did so in animal form, remaining in the shadows and watching these strange townsfolk from afar. I happened upon a noblewoman by her carriage, adorned in sparkling garments the likes of which I had never before seen. I was dazzled. This, to me, seemed what true wealth and beauty must be. I snuck up behind her and stole a hand mirror from the carriage. 'Twas encrusted in gold and crystalline gemstones, and I hugged it to my chest with delight as I sped back to the wilds.
Can't imagine Flemeth was pleased.
She was not. Flemeth was furious with me. I was a child and had not yet come into my full power, and I had risked discovery for the sake of a pretty bauble. To teach me a lesson, Flemeth took the mirror and smashed it upon the ground. I was heartbroken.
But you were just a child.
And a foolish one. Flemeth was right to break me of my fascination. Beauty and love are fleeting and have no meaning. Survival has meaning. Power has meaning. Without those lessons, I would not be here today, as difficult as they might have been.
They made you stronger, didn't they?
They did indeed. To return to your original question, perhaps my time in the wilds was indeed lonely, but such was how it had to be. I find myself at times wondering what might have become of the girl with the beautiful golden mirror, but such fantasies have no place amidst reality.
Morrigan, have you ever been hunted by the Chantry?
You are very cute to ask so many questions.
And you are cute when you're evasive.
Really? Perhaps we should be wrapped in ribbons and adorned with flowers. So cute are we, too. My mother has been hunted from time to time, yes, by Templar fools like Alistair, which should tell you how successful they generally were. Flemeth made a bit of a game of it, in fact. The Templars would come again, and she would look at me and smile and say that the fun was to begin once more.
Fun? You found it fun?
I found the game fun. I was too young to understand the truth behind what was happening. Flemeth would warn them once. 'Twas a warning they inevitably failed to heed. And then the true game began. Often Flemeth would use me as bait. A little girl to scream and run and lure the Templars deeper into the wilds and to their doom.
Surely more would have followed.
Sometimes. Eventually. Thankfully, the wilds is a vast place. Once they found us, Flemeth would simply move us elsewhere, and we would be lost within the forest once again. I did not understand the danger we faced until I was much older. I had never heard of apostates or maleficarum.
They got what they deserved.
Perhaps they did. Still, I do not begrudge them doing what they believe is necessary. The Chantry sees any mages not leashed to the Circle of Magi as apostates, and apostates could become maleficarum, evil mages that resort to blood magic and become demon-enslaved abominations. It may even be true. Still, those of us who prefer freedom see no reason to submit.
I agree completely.
An interesting answer for a mage. Enough of this talk. Let us return to the task at hand.
And finally... So there's two things. Now, Morrigan likes me enough to the point where I can start her romance. But before I do that, I'll do that not today. I'd like to do some
You and
trading.
your friends are formidable folk.
Let me
indeed.
see your wares.
I'm sure you'll be pleased with the goods my boy and I have collected, and with your discount.
And there's some stuff I really want from here. Obviously, the health poultices and the lyrium potions. All the way down here is another backpack upgrade. Let me talk you through some of the other stuff he sells. Health stuff, stuff for your trap making, poison making, potion making. Tomes for an extra spell or ability. Some very overpriced weapons, but they are quite good. I'll get some of these. Like here, the final reason is a powerful staff with extra damage, extra spell power, extra fire damage. Some of the other stuff that's part of the Blood Dragon armor. The Blood Dragon armor is promotional item, but you only start with the plate in your inventory. You can buy the gauntlets, helmet, and boots from Bodahn. As long as you have someone with at least 38 strength, they can wear that, and it's one of the best sets of armor in the game. There's some great boots. Here is the Spell Ward, incredibly high price, but it's probably really, really good for our character, because look at that. Instead of, so all I really gain from the current amulet I have is +1 to all attributes. But I can trade that in, the +1 in for +5 in willpower. Extra health regen, that's outside of combat, but it's still useful. 30% spell resistance, which makes me a lot more resistant if I have to fight enemy mages. And another 10% chance to dodge attacks and extra chance to avoid missile attacks, which is huge because I am going for a build where I'm the least likely as possible to get hit at all. That's what keeps you in the game and lets you fight really hard bosses on high difficulty, is simply not getting hit. You can live with a low, even like many games. I'm thinking about Souls games or Elden Ring. You don't need a lot of health if you are not going to get hit ever. So we will get that. And then of course there are some other accessories, runes, and then there are gifts. You'll see these are free, which is from a DLC, and as well as pranks. They are a little bit, have little silly side effects, but the pranks also have as a side effect that they make the character hate you. So they get a lot of disapproval with you, but they get something funny that you can either do or that's appearing on their body, like the ugly boots or the protective cone. But you can cancel it out by also giving them one of the gifts. And these other gifts, sugar cake and thoughtful gift, just give you a little bit of approval. Charcoal and onion obviously give you some disapproval. And then finally here you have manuals for Ranger and Templar. Buying these and reading them unlocks the specializations for those classes. Templar is obviously a warrior specialization and Ranger a rogue specialization. And you can unlock these otherwise just through the game and finding certain NPCs. I believe Templar you might be able to learn from Alistair, but you can also buy these manuals and unlock them that way. Okay, and that means altogether, here we have 10% chance to dodge attacks from our boots. We have another 10% from the Spell Ward. And another 5% from this Guildmaster's Belt. That's huge. That's just an extra 25% chance of dodging attacks on top of whatever my other armor will give me. And any other buffs or abilities I might use. And that'll be it for right now for the camp. And the next time we will move on to our next destination. Thank you and see you later.